So your first SUA assignment is to record all the transactions. So record all the transactions, including documentation of the transaction, and also record the transactions in journals and ledgers. So I'm going to give you an example. So I will do the first transaction and show you how you should complete this assignment. It takes a lot of time. So let's look at transaction number 1 from the transaction list. So you know the transaction list is the document 1 of your document packet. So here is the transaction number 1 here, and note the date. Please note the date. The transaction date here is December 16, okay? So, and also note the symbol here means that, so with this yes here, this symbol means that for this transaction, you need to prepare some documents. And the page number here means that you should look at the introductions and flowcharts book on page 18 to 19 for relevant flowcharts. So here's the transaction, all right? And you can skim through the transaction content here. And notice that for every transaction, you also need to notice this red box here, which is a shaded area in your blue sheet, transaction list 1, and tells you what you need to do. So Rosemont credit limit is documented in their subsidiary ledger account. You need to check it out. And you will use several documents and record entry in sales journal. Told you this need to be in sales journal, and also record in accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. Okay. And for guidance in preparing bill of lading, there's a reference book number we will get to. Okay, and next we need to open the transaction table file. So let me show you where is the transaction table file. So the transaction table file is posted. It's posted on Canvas. So this is the transaction table file that you need to fill it out. And I have a bunch of instructions that I have already talked about in class. So here is a transaction 1. It's already all filled out for you. So also go to the SUA 1 assignment instructions. So we have gone through the 4 steps, and now for each transaction you need to follow the 7-step process. First, read and analyze the transaction we're gonna do it, and find appropriate flowchart. We're gonna do it, and for the flowchart we need to notice that 3 things: what document to be prepared and approved, what accounting entries we need to record, and what internal control procedures. Okay, so let's go back to the slides here. First, read and understand the transaction. So this transaction is the Warren Sports received customer purchase order. Here's the order number, and this is the document number 4 in our document packet, and received the order from Rosemont University. So their credit has been approved, so we don't need to do anything, and so we need to approve their credit and ship the goods. So that's what they did on December 16. You will have to assume that their employees' role to do all these actions. All goods ordered were shipped, except that only 45 shoulder pad sets were available for shipment. So they will have some back orders. And this part is the shipment information that we need when we prepare bill of lading. Okay, so now we understand the transaction is regarding a sales transaction. So the reference book page for flowchart is page 18 and 19, which is, let's pull out the purchase order, document number 4 here. And this is their purchase order number here. And in the purchase order, it shows what they have ordered, what Rosemont has ordered. So notice that they ordered 75 shoulder pad set, but only 45 were shipped. So 30 will actually go to back order. Remember that back order takes this symbol, okay? So that's the purchase order. And now we need to study the the flow chart to understand what we need to do. Remember 3 things we need to pay attention to: what documents to be prepared, what accounting entry to be recorded, and internal controls. So let's look at this more closely here. See that receive customer purchase order, and then claimer need to approve that and initial on purchase order. Okay, so we need to look at the customer's accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. So I need to look at it. Suppose I have looked at it. It's a let's see. Let me find the ledger. I'm not going to show you in this presentation, but I will tell you what their credit limit is. In the accounts receivable subsidiary ledger for Rosemont University, their credit limit is $125,000. So they still have a lot of, and their balance, accounts receivable balance is 0. So they have a lot of the full credit to place the purchase order. So then the claimer approves this credit and initials approve on custom purchase order. That means that he approved it. So next step is to pick items from inventory and fulfill the order. So the partial shipment here, and we need to note that 30 shoulder pad is back ordered. Okay, so we have to fulfill it later. So now we need to prepare the pre-numbered bill of lading. So whenever you see the symbol here, we know that we need to prepare document. So this is document to be prepared, bill of lading. And then keep going. We then need to prepare sales invoice. So there will be another document to be prepared. And when we do that, we need to look at price list. Okay. Adams reviews the invoice and the support documents for accuracy. Initial the sales invoice. So then ship the orders to the customer. Along with the shipment, we will have 1 copy of sales order to customer with the merchandise. That's what we need to prepare. Another document to be prepared is the invoice, sales invoice here. Okay, and also bill of lading to be prepared. All right. Okay, so where to locate these 2 documents? On the first page of your document packet has this, in the folder has this table of content. So find that bill of lading is document number 5, and the sales invoice for credit sale, which is they called charge sales invoice, is called the is for the credit sale, and this is credit sale. So we're going to use these 2 documents. All right, first to prepare bill of lading. Okay, prepare bill of lading here, and then we wanted to, because there carriers information in the transaction list, so you put it aside and then side by side, and so you can fill out this bill of lading information. So bill of lading again is a contract between the seller and the carrier. So this part you get from the purchase order. So this shipment is to whom? Who is the receiver of the shipment? And the shipper number here is 2154. The carrier number is 2154. And the date, what date is shipped? So pull out the date. Would be the December 16. They do everything on that day. Name of the carrier is Allied Tracking. And then for here, you need to fill out all this stuff here. What have they shipped? They shipped 5 cartons rim set, 2 cartons backboard, 9 cartons shoulder pad, 4 cartons football helmet. Okay, so you just put it here, number of shipping unit and description and weight. You can multiply the 5 carton by 42, get the weight, and rate per pound is 37, and the charges total, and you can get total charges here. For the other part, we don't really need to care except that we need to sign, okay? So here is the bill of lading for this transaction. You can see that the total charges is $315.98. Okay, so and Nancy is the person who take care of the shipment. So then Nancy will have to sign on it. And next, we need to prepare the charge sales invoice, which is credit sale invoice. Use this number 731. So this would be the customer information here. And the invoice date, prepared by whom, etc. And then we wanted to kind of provide itemized invoice, what's being charged. So here they purchased 25 gold and rim set. So you put the quantity and the product number here, and description, quantity shipped, and etc. So the unit price here, where to find it? I didn't put it on my slides, but it's in the price list. Notice in the price list, you have to use the selling price in the price list. We cannot use the cost, okay? So on your price list, there are 2 types of the price. So let me put it out. One column is for cost and another is for selling price. On the invoice, you always wanted to use the selling price as unit price and multiply by the quantity shipped, and then to get the total charge. Okay, so then notice that the order 75 shoulder pad set, but we are only able to ship 45 sets. So 30 will be back ordered. So here's my invoice prepared. You notice that here is 30 shoulder pads have to be back ordered, and quantity shipped is only 45 for this item. Okay, so all this unit price are from the price list under the column of the selling price. So the total would be 15,480. And Jim Adams, remember, have to approve it and review it and initial on this invoice. So that's this part of the transaction. And then we need to see here to be page 19. So we need to come here. It's connected here to do some accounting recording. Okay, this is also illustrated in the illustrated in this assignment file here. Record the transactions in journals and then post individual items to subsidiary. That is number 5. So we're gonna do number 4, record transaction in journals. We know that we need to record transaction to sales journal. Okay, let's see it better. Make entry in sales journal and accounting receivable subsidiary journal. So here information flow to sales journal and AR subsidiary ledger. I was misspoken. Okay, so let's see. So from here, when you do your accounting entries, I want you to record the journals and the ledgers in your workbook. Okay, you have to open your workbook, and once you open it, in the title page, write down your name and record this transaction in sales journal and AR Rosemount University sub ledger. Let me show you. I have to get out from this PowerPoint. Here's my workbook. I already opened. So see, once you open, the first time you open it, type your name here, Valerie B. And then we need to record this in sales journal first. We always wanted to record in the journal first and then post it to ledger. So you see the sales journal here is partially filled, and for us we're going to continue. That would be December 16, the date, and the customer would be Rosemount University, and the invoice I'm going to use is 731. The customer's subsidiary account for this customer would be 406, and because we haven't posted to subsidiary, so we're gonna leave there blank. So we're going to, when we record this credit sale, we debit to accounts receivable, credit to sales. So we debit to accounts receivable general ledger. The 10200 is the accounts receivables account number from the charts of account in general ledger. Okay, so the amount we're going to put in would be 15,490. 15,490, and we also credit to sales general ledger account is 3,100, same amount, 490. So now we're done with the sales journal, and we need to post this number to AR subsidiary, which is here, and we wanted to post it to Rosemount University. So the way the workbook works is that they have a grouping function. So when we click the plus sign here, it opens up the Rosemount University accounts receivable subsidiary ledger. So I'm going to put it in here. So in the workbook, you can only type in the yellow part, but you don't have to type in all yellow. Okay, so description is the invoice, because I need to post it to here. The invoice number is 331, and it's gonna be a debit, so I put it under the debit part. I like to use the equation, so I'm going to make it to equal to the amount I put it, so it's easy. If I made a mistake, I can just change it. So equal to this debit, same thing. So it automatically gives you the balance. So then we are done for this accounting entries for this transaction. Okay, let's go back to the slides here. Post it to subsidiary ledger, we have done that. So then after you finish the 7 steps, I need you to fill out in this transaction table the blanks. So in here for transaction 1, I have already filled it out for you. So we have the source documents we need is the bill of lading, which is document number 5. And because the source of, the bill of lading, we have multiple copies, and I used this specific copy. And the same thing for sales invoice, I used this copy. So you wanted to put this number here. In terms of journals, what we did for journals, we fill out in sales journals, and the date is this. You can skip the date, that'll be fine. So what we did is debit accounts receivables, general ledger, this amount, and the credit sales. So this is basically document what we have done. And then in ledgers, we also posted to Rosemont University this much debit. And now you wanted to do the journal entries for this transaction. These journal entries will not show up on the workbook because you already recorded in the sales journal. So the journal entry would be a debit accounts receivable for Rosemont, this amount, and the credit sale for the same amount. And now for this transaction, we are done. So we are done with the transaction number 1 and repeat the same procedures for transaction number 2. So some transactions have more steps and some do not. So one thing I wanted to emphasize here is that you always wanted to refer to your flow chart, okay? Refer to the flow chart and the reference book. So, and use this transaction table to do your first SUA assignment.